Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video. I wanted to quickly talk about a recent article that the Austin Business Journal published. And as you can see here, it seems pretty exciting about Giga Texas if you go by what the author said. Now, they looked at 10 permits, they say, and they also drew the conclusion that Giga Texas was going to grow 50% larger in the coming year. And all that sounds great, but not so fast. So let's talk a little bit about what is really going on and how this issue has been something that I've addressed multiple times over the last 3.5, 4 years. The first error that the author of the article made was when they went to the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation site. They looked at the various permits, but they did not set the default setting for the number shown on the screen, and they actually used the default 10. That's where 10 comes from. If you actually make that correction and show, let's say, 25, you'll find out that there are actually 18 of these particular permits on the site right now for Giga Texas. The next fundamental error that the author of the article made is not understanding what the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, or TDLR, is responsible for. Now, this is not a permitting agency for construction. That's something handled by the City of Austin, also by the Travis County Permits Division. What the TDLR does is they are an occupational licensing agency. They are to protect the health and safety of all Texans, and they have the authority to register and regulate plan reviewers and inspectors in the Elimination of Architectural Barriers program. In other words, making sure that the construction sites are ready for occupation and are safe to be used for the purposes of that construction. Getting a TDLR permit is one of the last steps in being able to use your new facility, and there are some specific guidelines on how this works. You need to have a registered accessibility specialist, or a RAS. They do the inspections and set the fees for the inspections. The RAS must complete the inspection within the first anniversary of the completion of construction. It doesn't mean that you can't use the facility during that time, but it has to happen within the first year of completing the construction. And the written request for the RAS has to happen within 30 days of the completion of the construction project. Now, as I've mentioned, I've covered this multiple times over the last 4 years or so of Giga Texas's construction. And the last time I did a deep dive was my 12 January 2023 video, and there's a lot of information there. The link is here at the bottom of the screen and in the video description. I would recommend that you take a look at that. I'm only going to cover some of the highlights here from that discussion. But as you can tell, at that time, there was another big report. Wow, amazing, Giga Texas was expanding 5 new projects. And of course, that was not true. This was talking about TDLR permits. As you can also tell, I covered this also back in November of 2021 when the exact same issue came up for a publication in news media. Here's a few highlights of how the TDLR process works. As mentioned, they are responsible to protect the health and safety of Texans and to ensure their operational and working environments are safe. The Texas Architectural Barriers, or ADA, inspections are required once construction has been completed, and it must occur prior to the first anniversary of the recorded project completion date. TDLR covers all construction projects over $50,000, which is why when you look at the actual permit documents, it has the number 50,000 in it for the Giga Texas projects, because they all are over that number. It considers total habitable area inside a facility, not just the building footprint or area size. Here's a look at the TDLR permits, all 18 of them. I've numbered them. I've also put the name of which section, in this case body in white, castings, and cathode. And at the end, I'll show you a map where all of these are located. Number 4 is cell 1, and number 5 is cell 2. We know that the 4680 section has been expanding, and also the cell test lab. Number 7 is the die shop over by the cathode building. Number 8 is the drive unit, and number 9 is that new east parking garage. Number 10 is the General Assembly lobby, or the main lobby. Number 11 is General Assembly, the original part, and then General Assembly expansion. Number 13 is the high bay, which is just south of the dry unit. Number 14 is paint, and number 15 is the plastics manufacturing section. Number 16 is that large south expansion for Cortex. Number 17 is the original stamping one, and number 18 is the stamping section. This map shows both the factory and the overall site, and I've listed all 18. I've shown you where these are located. And as you can tell, this is quite expansive over all of the construction projects that have been underway for the last year, including the expansion within Giga Texas, preparing the production lines for the next generation vehicles and also the robotaxi. And finally, here's some views that I've given you recently of some of the work inside Giga Texas to expand the production capabilities, and is all related to each of these permits. As I mentioned, these projects throughout the entire Giga Texas site have been going on for quite some time. Some of them are continuing to go on right now. This is the last part of being able to use these new facilities and get that TDLR permit. So I actually see this as a very strong and great indication for what's going on at Giga Texas. And even though the article was very misleading and incorrect, what this is telling us is that Giga Texas is progressing very well towards being able to start production in the first half of 2025. Well, I hope that discussion put into context more about what is really going on, what these permits are for, and why the Austin Business Journal article was so incorrect and it at best gave the wrong impression about what is going on. I also hope that with my discussion about what these permits really are, you understand that it's actually kind of exciting about what's coming up for 2025. And it reiterates not only what I've been showing you with my drone flights, but also what Tesla has been saying at multiple events, most recently at the third quarter financial results meeting. So anyway, I hope that you found this discussion helpful and informative. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. Another great morning here at Giga Texas with some clouds and a nice sunrise. I thought we would start on the west side at the outbound lot, see what kind of activity is going on. On the left-hand side of the screen, the end-of-line facility, we see a lot of cars lining up to enter in for processing. And here on the north and west side, a lot of Cybertrucks are being stored here temporarily. On the left-hand side of the screen, we see a line of Cybertrucks that are kind of on the road getting ready to go over to the end-of-line facility. But anyway, it looks like the continued work in producing the Cybertrucks on the for the main part of the production continues right now. Here's a great view across this lot, the end of line, and the flags in front of the main entrance. But there's also some of the Model Ys off to the right. And as I continue to fly along this west side, looking to the east across the outbound lot, you'll get a chance to see how many of them there are. And I know a lot of people keep asking, what's going on with the Model Y production? Why is it, relatively speaking, less than the Cybertrucks? I think some of that answer is what we talked about in the intro, and that has to do with some of the upgrades that are going on inside the factory to get ready for the next year, and some of the new products that are be coming along here in the next several months. So even though we do see the effects of that here in the outbound lot, I think it's still positive indication of what we'll see coming up in the coming new year. There's more of them here on this east side of the lot, as you can see. Now I'm going to bring the drone over towards the south end of the end-of-line facility. Just take a look at the work on the superchargers and how they look today. Probably about 50% of the superchargers being used. Also kind of neat to tell that there's some red lights in those openings on the south end of the end-of-line facility. As I pivot the drone to look back towards the south, we'll fly over this large clearing. There is some more excavation work that is underway on the south end and also some on the east side. Looks like it may be trenching for more conduit, and this is probably related to what we'll see here at the boring company in the near future as this entire area gets ready for a final configuration, and then we'll see the boring tunnel starting to be used. Now, speaking of which, as I come along towards the west entrance, it's very clear that the road surface panels have been installed, and more of them are off to the left. It looks like there may be a template of some sort that the workers are looking at. But I'm going to bring the drone down. I'm going to zoom in, give you a look into the tunnel. Clearly, the road panel surfaces are all installed all the way to this end. Looks like they're doing some concrete to maybe fill in the gaps where each of the road panels come together. But definitely a great sign. Of course, these are the replaced and remanufactured road surface panels, and they've basically replaced the entire set that was put in June and July, and now these are the upgraded and enhanced road surface panels. I think this is a great sign that the boring tunnel itself is nearing to the point where we might see some operation. On the right-hand side of the screen is that small excavation with those 8 piers. Still waiting to see what that will be. And of course, the conduit and that vault is being installed just to the north of the tunnel. So I'm going to fly back up to the north, pivot the drone to look towards the south, and let's cross over the highway and take a look at what's going on the south end today. All right, the glass is still being installed here on the west side, much more of it on the trailers and in the crates on the right. Look into the bottom left of the screen where that opening is for vehicles to transit into the factory and have access to the boring tunnel exit, which is on that part of the south extension. A lot more of the materials and some of the machinery and equipment that is used by the glass company to install this glass, and all of this is waiting for its chance to be installed on that west side. You can see some of the crates are smaller in size. That's because some of the glass is going to get narrower as they work their way along the kind of the architectural character line where the glass swoops down. Now on the south end, the work on the tunnels and the grade with the 3 levels of terracing is very apparent. Road surface will be on the top. It appears that there might be some sort of grass seed being put in the middle part of the berm, possibly, and we'll monitor that to see how that comes about. And on the bottom tier, it looks like that it's still going to be ready for perhaps some sort of riprap or broken up stone. So it'll be, again, something that we will look at. As I come around towards the southeast side and around this light pole, there are a few things that I want to point out. First of all, the crews on those man lifts are preparing more of the mounts for glass. They'll be putting in some of the trim pieces and mount hardware along the perimeter grade beam and the beam for the second floor. And all of this will be ready to have glass installed on this side as well. That ramp on the left, the concrete, is curing now. We saw that being poured and troweled on my previous video. We also see here at the cooling plant, the last of the 6 riser pipes has now been installed and painted that silver color. More work on the ground floor with the main pipes and preparing for that manifold to be connected. Here's a close-in look at the crews preparing some of the mounts that will be used to support the glass once that is installed. So I'm going to bring the drone around again, quick view inside the second floor, also down at the ground floor with that new ramp. And as I bring it up, I'll show you the roof material, this large kind of rectangular section where it has sort of gray kind of the insulating panels. Of course, this is right over the Cortex supercomputer and the cooling system. I believe that it's a different color because it's a different code for the type of material that can be on the roof. As I come back to the chiller plant, this is a nice view on the west side of the fans. 2 of them are used right now. We have seen about 5 of the 6 being used so far, and more work on the ground level. And looking across the east side to the multi-level parking garage, we do see more work on the ground with some of the gas pipe installation. And I'll come back for a lower altitude view here momentarily. As I pivot the drone to look more to the west, this is a nice view of the east side of the chiller plant, how the southeast corner of the factory is appearing, and some of the nice cloud colors coming from the sunrise that is happening just behind the drone. Now I'm going to bring the drone back down to a lower altitude and take a look at the natural gas pipeline work that is going on here. You can see part of the pipe at the bottom of the screen, some more of the trench boxes near where it goes underneath the road where that excavation work has happened. We also see another one of those road crossing excavations over to the chiller plant. That's where a pipe comes through and it drains into that lined pond, and that is part of that cleaning and testing portion of the chiller plant. We also see the work on the left here of the natural gas pipe being installed into many of the trenches, working their way along the east side of the road. I also noticed there's a new clearing that is getting a lot of work, a lot of infill here on this part of the site. And it will possibly be for maybe more parking, but it may also be for a construction project. I have a few ideas in mind of what it could be, but until I get some more details or see the permits, I'll withhold my speculation. But it's good to see that there's additional work being done here on the south part near the multi-level parking garage. And as we continue to fly along this east side over the power lines, a good look at the medians on the bottom of the screen, and also where the new crosswalks have been paved, working their way up to the north. Also a look across the old testing and calibration lot where there are some Cybertrucks being stored. The sedimentation basin, which is kind of that pond that is used for water drain and control of that water drain. And of course the work on the trailers onto the north side of the multi-level parking garage, which is part of the contractor offices that are responsible for some of the construction here at the factory. Looking at this east side, the new concrete, those receiving doors, looks like they're just going to be using it for some of those man lift storage for the moment. They haven't put the enclosures together on those receiving doors yet, so continue to be monitoring that. As we cross over the power lines, a nice view of the baghouse plant, that assembly over the receiving doors of the casting machine structure. But first, I want to bring the drone down and take a look at this new enclosure. A lot more work since my previous video, as you can tell as I zoom in, kind of putting walls and a roof material on. It's shaped like it's possibly some sort of stairwell or certainly an access point to the roof. On this west side where the plastic is most likely the exit point. And it looks like this is going to be completely enclosed once it is finished, with the exception of those doors. I've had a viewer point out that the shape of this structure with that angle on the east side suggests that this is just stairs and probably not an elevator. So we'll continue to monitor that as time goes on, but it's really progressing quickly. This is where we see some of the rack mounts and the cables that run from the south to the north end and connect to the switchyard and will be part of what's powering that data center on the south end. The baghouse filtration plant continues to have assembly work being done with some of the pipes. Also, this tall structure, and they put some more of the walkways around these box-like structures. And I suspect that we're going to see something else added to this top level. And maybe by the time I get back from my trip to Houston next week, this will be kind of taking shape and we'll get a better idea of what it looks like. But a good look from the top down at how this is continuing to be assembled and the connections of the pipes into the casting machine structure. Speaking of castings, a lot more being stored on that new marked off area on the left next to the berm. And in addition to that, we see some equipment and some materials being stored. As I bring the drone down, this is a much closer look at this enclosure with the roof decking, some of the wall decking, that valley drain that they are working on right now with the workers to control the rain runoff, and how this entire section looks. On the right-hand side of the screen, we see a new temporary platform has been erected, and we'll continue to watch this to see what it is that they will be installing here that requires this loading platform. And as I turn the drone around, some more work on the ground for cabling through the conduit. And I will give you a look from the south to the north over the new casting management and sorting lot. And as I bring the drone down a little lower, this is a view of many of these castings. As I've mentioned, it seems like the kind of the operational cadence that they have is making castings pretty much every day of the week, and they collect as production and casting numbers kind of vie for which one is higher. And then when the production slows down to a stop on Friday and Saturday, they continue to make more and make them over the weekend, and then they're ready for the next set of production for the following week. So I'm going to continue to fly around the northwest corner, bring the drone up slightly, show you from this vantage point the work that continues with the ducting and some of the ducted fans, and how this installation for additional ventilation over the 4680 battery cell section of the factory looks. Now, in the intro, we talked a lot about the permits, and much of what we've been seeing here is covered under those permits, which means that the construction is well underway and they're getting ready to want to use these facilities. Now in this section here, the work continues with that stairwell and some more items on the ground, but still not a lot of quick progress on that particular site. As we pass over the battery can recycling section, I did notice that there's a truck here offloading more nitrogen. Just on the inside of this facility is a nitrogen tank, and that is used as part of the production process of the 4680s. So while I'm here, I'm going to bring the drone up and take a look over the highway and try to get an idea of what the terminal for that new natural gas pipeline looks like. I'll zoom in, and what we can see is a lot of those kind of blue pipes and manifolds are coming together in that gravel section. And in addition to that, more of the pipes are being installed on the north end. Of course, this runs the entire length of this side all the way to the Colorado River, under the river, and then over to the Sandhill power generating plant. And this is part of a project for that plant. So let me reposition the drone. Let's see what's going on with the electrical switchyard today. Nice views of what is going on here. There is work next to this V-type circuit breaker as more of the installation continues. Some of the wrapping material on the V kind of projecting surfaces on the top has been removed. This gives us a much better look at how its final appearance will be once it's completely installed. In addition to that, I see rebar cages at the bottom center of the screen, and that may be for some additional auger work and making more of the piles or piers. We also see work here with forms making more of the footings, and a trench just to the east side of that slab and containment basin. Still no work on that wall that kind of sits in between the transformers. So we continue to watch that. Maybe by the time I return next week to fly, we'll see some progress there. So I'm going to bring the drone over towards the die shop and the cathode plant, and we'll take a look at what's going on over here today. Now in the intro, again, we talked about those TDLR permits. Some of them are for these structures here, the cell test lab in the bottom left, the die shop itself, and of course the cathode building. And as we discussed, that is all part of the last part of a inspection process that allows these buildings to be used, and they make sure that it is safe for the workers. And that can be done up to 1 year after construction has completed. And a lot of the construction has been going on here for about a year. So it seems like it's appropriate time for those permits and for that action to take place. We also see some activity at the crash test facility as they continue to refine their models. The field kitchen with some of the new electrical boxes and transformers, and then where the conduit went underneath where the dirt has been spread. And to end up the video today, I'm going to start here on the east side, looking back towards the main factory. I'll bring the drone up to a higher altitude, and this is a overall view of what we were able to see today. So anyway, happy Halloween, and as a reminder, I will not be flying on Friday, so I'll see you next week. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great week.